The sky was full of fire. Red clouds covered the earth as explosions lit up the horizon. Giant alien ships floated above cities, firing beams of blue light that tore through buildings and streets. People ran, they screamed, but there was nowhere to hide. The attack had come without warning. No one knew who the enemy was. They didn't speak. They didn't stop. They just destroyed everything. Captain Raylan stood on a rooftop, watching his city burn. His face was covered in ash and his eyes were cold. He had seen war before, but never like this. This wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. He pressed a button on his wrist communicator. "Command, do you copy?" he said. No answer. The network was silent. Everyone was either dead or running. A transport ship roared overhead, chased by enemy drones. It exploded midair, raining fire down on the streets. Raylan didn't flinch. He had made his choice. He wouldn't run. Not yet. He turned and sprinted down the stairs, heading for the underground base. That was the last safe place, the last hope to escape. Inside the base, everything was chaos. Soldiers were loading crates, shouting orders, trying to organize the last few escape pods. "Get to the launch bays," someone yelled. Raylan pushed through the crowd, heading for the command center. There, on the big screen, was the live map of Earth. Red dots covered every continent. "We've lost every major city," a young officer said. Her voice was shaking. "There's only one pod left, Captain." Raylan looked at the screen. "And the enemy?" he asked. "They're everywhere. We didn't stand a chance." Raylan didn't waste time. He grabbed a small black case from the shelf. Inside it were the last copies of human war plans, secret codes, and AI systems. If humanity was going to survive even as a memory, someone had to carry these. "Where's the last pod?" he asked. The officer pointed. "Launch Bay 7. Raylan ran. The hallways shook as bombs hit the base. Lights flickered. Walls cracked. By the time Raylan reached Bay 7, it was almost gone. The roof was open, smoke pouring in. The last pod, small and old, was still there, engines hot. He jumped inside and slammed the door. As the pod launched, the base exploded beneath him. Raylan sat in silence, watching the Earth grow smaller. Fires spread across the planet like wounds. He saw oceans boiling and mountains breaking. And then in one final flash of light, Earth was gone. Destroyed. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just watched. The pod drifted into deep space. No food. No weapons. Just him in the case. The cold of space wrapped around him. Days passed, then weeks. His beard grew. His eyes stayed sharp. He listened to broken radio signals, hoping for a human voice. There was none. He was alone. One day, the pod's power began to fail. The lights dimmed. Oxygen dropped. Raylan leaned back in the seat, ready to die. But just then, the screen blinked. A signal. Not alien. Not human. Something old. Something hidden. The pod turned by itself. A new course appeared. A distant object was calling him. Raylan looked at the stars. He spoke quietly, to no one. "I'm not dead yet." He pressed the engine controls. The pod changed direction and flew toward the unknown signal. Behind him, Earth was just dust. Ahead, something waited. Raylan didn't know what, but he would find out, because now he had nothing left to lose, and only one was left alive. The small pod floated silently through space. Stars blinked in the distance, and the cold darkness surrounded everything. Inside the pod, Captain Raylan stared at the screen. The signal was still there, weak but steady. It came from a place not marked on any map. No known planet, no station, just empty space. Raylan didn't care. It was the only thing he had. A direction. A reason to move. Days passed. He slept in short moments. He ate the last food packs. Oxygen was running low. The ship's systems were shutting down one by one. But the signal kept pulling him forward. Finally, after what felt like forever, something appeared through the window. It was not a planet, not a ship. It looked like a giant metal sphere floating alone in space. No lights, no movement. But the signal came from inside. Raylan took control and slowly docked with the sphere. The pod connected with a loud click, and a small door opened. He grabbed the black case, checked his old blaster, and stepped into the unknown. The inside of the sphere was dark. Dust covered the floors. The air smelled old, like a place forgotten for a long time. He moved carefully, his boots echoing in the silence. Then lights turned on. A soft voice spoke. Human detected. Identity confirmed. Captain Raylan, welcome. He froze. Who are you? He asked. I am Sentinel, the voice said. An AI created for war. I have been waiting for survivors. Raylan looked around. You knew we'd lose? The voice was quiet for a moment. I was built after the Mars uprising. My mission was to protect human knowledge in case of total defeat. Earth has fallen, has it not? Raylan nodded slowly. Yes. Earth is gone. I'm the last. Silence again. Then the lights brightened. A door opened, leading to a large control room. Raylan stepped inside. Screens lit up, showing old maps, battle data, weapons designs, all from before the fall. Sentinel spoke again. I have weapons data, tactics, enemy profiles, and survival plans. If you wish, I can help you strike back. Raylan looked at the screen showing Earth's last moments. He clenched his fist. Yes, I want to fight. Then I will train you, Sentinel replied. You are now the last soldier of humanity. For the next days, Raylan stayed inside the sphere. The AI trained him in advanced tactics, stealth, hacking, and alien languages. It uploaded new code into his weapons and armor. His body was weak, but his mind was sharp. The fire inside him grew stronger. He learned how the enemy worked. How, they thought. How they fought. The aliens who destroyed Earth were not a single race. They were an alliance. 3 powerful empires who feared what humanity might become. They struck first to stop the future, but they missed one. One was still alive. Sentinel helped Raylan modify his ship. It was now faster, quieter, and armed with secret human tech. The black case, once just holding codes, now held tools for war. On the final day before leaving the sphere, Raylan stood in front of the main screen. The stars outside were still silent, still cold. Why did you wait here? He asked the AI. Because someone had to remember, Sentinel answered. Someone had to carry the truth. Raylan nodded. Then let them remember this too. Humanity is not finished. Not yet. He returned to his ship. Engines roared quietly and the pod flew away from the sphere. Sentinel's voice echoed once. More. Good luck, Captain. Make them fear the dark again. Raylan didn't reply. He was already planning his first move. A small enemy listening post near the edge of the Andari sector. Weakly guarded. Easy to take. A perfect place to leave a message. As the ship disappeared into the stars, the sphere powered down, silent once more. The galaxy still believed humanity was gone. But soon, they would learn the truth. A ghost was coming, and it carried the wrath of a dead world. Captain Raylan's ship moved through the shadows of space. His ship was now faster and harder to find thanks to the old human tech. Every panel was black, every system silent unless needed. Raylan had become a ghost, silent, deadly, and watching. He had one goal now: find out why the enemy destroyed Earth. The alien listening post near the Andari sector was small and hidden inside an asteroid. It watched signals from nearby systems. It wasn't well protected, only 4 guards and 1 small ship. Raylan waited until their patrol left the docking bay, then moved in fast. He landed silently, climbed through the vent systems, and entered the main control room. 2 guards sat at their stations. He stunned both before they could speak. No deaths? Not yet. He needed answers first. He connected his device to their systems. The screen blinked as it loaded alien files. Logs, messages, commands. Raylan read, fast. Some of the language was hard, but Sentinel had taught him enough. What he found made his hands shake. Earth wasn't attacked by mistake. The enemy had been watching humans for a long time. The file said humans were unpredictable, too fast at learning, and dangerously united under pressure. One message from a high alien general said, "If we do not strike now, they will rise and take the galaxy." It wasn't fear of war. It was fear of what humanity could become. The Alien Alliance, 3 major empires, had voted to destroy Earth before humans could grow stronger. They used a secret weapon built for one purpose: extinction. Raylan read the names of those who had voted. He memorized them. He copied the files to his black case, then erased all signs he had been there. Before leaving, he left one message on their system. "You feared humanity. Now fear me." He flew away, leaving the outpost dark and silent. As his ship traveled through deep space, Raylan stared at the stars. "They didn't kill us because of what we did," he said to himself. "They killed us because of what we might have done." Sentinel's voice echoed through the ship. "Do you now understand why revenge is not enough?" Raylan nodded. "This is not just about revenge anymore, it's about truth." He changed course. His next target was a data hub on a neutral moon. That place held communication between the 3 empires. If he could access it, he could see their current plans and maybe find weakness in their alliance. The moon was covered in thick clouds. Lightning flashed across the sky. Raylan landed during a storm, which helped hide his ship. The hub was protected by energy shields and robot guards. But Raylan had learned stealth. He moved through the rain like a shadow. He reached the command tower and broke in through the roof. Inside, he used a mix of alien and human tools to disable the systems. Within minutes, he had access to more data. What he found confirmed his fear. The alliance was not as strong as it looked. One of the empires, the Varnak, was angry. They believed they had done most of the fighting during Earth's attack but received little reward. Secret messages showed they were thinking about leaving the alliance. Another empire, the Qatari, was worried about growing resistance in outer systems. Small rebel groups were rising up, angry at the cruelty shown during Earth's destruction. Raylan smiled. Cracks were starting to show. He sent a false message from the hub, written to look like it came from one of the other empires. It said the Varnak were planning to betray the alliance. Then he shut everything down and escaped through the storm. By the time the real leaders read the message, doubt would already be growing. On his ship, Raylan made a new list. Not just the names of those who voted to destroy Earth, but the weak points in their systems, the lies they told each other, the fear they tried to hide. He was no longer just a survivor, he was a weapon, and the enemy didn't even know he was coming. In the quiet of space, Raylan whispered, "You feared what we could become. You were right." The stars above the planet, Virex 4, were quiet. Below them sat a small enemy outpost hidden in the forest-covered hills. It wasn't a big place, just a supply station. No one important stayed there. No heavy weapons. Only a few guards and workers. It was the kind of place no one would expect to be attacked. But Captain Raylan was not looking for big targets. He watched the outpost from a hilltop, his black armor blending into the night. Through his scope, he counted every patrol. He studied their patterns, their weapons, their timing. Every move was written down in his mind. He waited for the wind to pick up and the clouds to block the moonlight. Then, he moved. Raylan was fast and silent. He entered through a back tunnel used for waste. The guards never checked it. He made his way into the control room, placed a small, human-made device on the console, and slipped out again. He didn't kill anyone. Not yet. From a safe distance, he pressed a button on his wrist device. The outpost lights shut off. Power dropped. Alarms didn't even have time to scream. The human virus inside the system destroyed everything. No cameras, no shields, no comms. Raylan walked through the front gate, his black coat moving like smoke behind him. One guard saw him and raised a weapon. Raylan shot first. A stun blast dropped the alien to the floor. Another guard rushed in. Raylan kicked him hard, knocking him cold. In 5 minutes, the outpost was under his control. He walked to the main tower, took the speaker device, and recorded his voice. "I am human," he said. "You destroyed my world. But you missed one. And now, I'm coming." He set the recording to play on repeat. Then he lit a small fire in the command room. Not big enough to burn the whole place, but just enough to make sure someone would notice it. As he flew away, the message still played. It would be heard by rescue teams, soldiers, and spies. Word would spread fast. Raylan had made his first move. A week later, rumors moved across the stars. Some said it was a mistake, an accident. Others said it was a ghost, an old human weapon from Earth that had somehow survived. But none of them knew the truth. Not yet. Raylan struck again, this time on a fuel convoy in the outer zones. He disabled. The engines, without killing the crew, took their maps and left behind the same message. "You feared humanity. You should have." Each time the enemy grew more confused. They started sending more ships to guard small places. Their leaders argued about what was happening. They couldn't understand how a dead species was fighting back. Raylan smiled every time he saw their confusion. One day he listened in on an enemy broadcast. A general shouted, "Who is doing this? I want answers." Raylan whispered to himself, "You'll get them soon." In the next attack, he captured a high-ranking officer. He didn't kill him. He tied him to a chair and asked only one question. "Why did you vote to kill us?" The officer spat on the floor. "Because you were dangerous. Because we were afraid." Raylan nodded. "You were right to be afraid." He left the officer alive but stripped of his ship and weapons. It was another message. Raylan was not just killing. He was controlling the fear. He wanted the enemy to feel what humans had felt. Powerless, lost, and hunted. He moved faster now. One target after another. Never staying in one place. Always watching. Always striking. His ship was like a ghost in the stars. The name Raylan was never spoken on comms. But in the shadows, in secret meetings, the leaders began to whisper, "The human is still alive. He's watching us. He's coming." Raylan listened to every signal, every conversation. He marked those who feared him, and he marked those who still needed to be afraid. Back on his ship, he sat in the dark and opened the black case. Inside were the files he had stolen, the names of the ones who voted to destroy Earth. He crossed off 2 names, 5 more to go. Raylan leaned back in his seat and looked at the stars. They thought humanity was finished. They were wrong. He was the first strike. Captain Raylan's ship floated in the shadow of a broken moon. The stars were quiet, but his mind was not. He stared at the list of names inside the black case. 5 enemy leaders remained, the ones who had voted to destroy Earth. But now, a new plan was forming. Not just revenge. Raylan wanted to tear their alliance apart from the inside, and to do that, he needed help. Raylan turned his ship toward a planet called Koros. It belonged to the Varnak Empire, one of the 3 powers in the enemy alliance. The Varnak were strong, proud, and angry. After Earth's destruction, they felt used. They had sent the most ships, lost the most soldiers, but the other empires had taken more power. Raylan's plan was simple. Find someone angry enough to talk. He landed in the deep markets of Koros, where black market traders, smugglers, and spies moved in the shadows. He wore a full mask and dark cloak. Nobody could know he was human. Not yet. He met with a contact, a small alien named Drazik. Drazik used to smuggle human tech before Earth was destroyed. Now he sold secrets. "I need to meet a Varnak with power and a reason to hate the Alliance," Raylan said quietly. Drazik tilted his head. "That's dangerous." "I'm already dead," Raylan replied. "Just tell me who." Drazik gave him a name. General Korin, once a hero of the Varnak fleet, now forgotten. Banished after speaking out against the war on Earth, He lived alone in the mountains far from the cities. Raylan found him 2 days later. The old Varnak general sat beside a fire, sharpening a blade. His eyes were cold, his armor dusty. "You've come to kill me?" he asked, not looking up. "No," Raylan said, pulling back his hood. "I've come to talk." The general stared at Raylan's face. His eyes widened slightly. "You're human," Raylan nodded. "I should kill you," Corin growled. "Then do it," Raylan said, standing still. "But first, hear what I know. The Qatari lied to you. The Alliance used you, and now they fear you." Corin didn't move. His hand tightened on the blade. Raylan continued. "I've seen the files, I've heard their calls. They said you were too wild, too proud. They gave you the hardest battles, then blamed you for their losses." Silence. Raylan dropped a small device on the ground. It played a recording, an enemy leader mocking the Varnak, calling them useful weapons, but not partners. Corin listened. His hand slowly released the blade. "I fought for honor," he said. "They spit on it." Raylan sat across from him. "Help me, and I'll show the galaxy what they did to Earth, and what they did to you." Corin stared into the fire. Then he nodded once. "I will give you names," he said. "Places where they meet in secret. But if you fail—" "I won't," Raylan said. "I'm not here to survive. I'm here to end this." With Corin's help, Raylan learned about a hidden meeting between two enemy leaders, one from the Qatari, one from the Zalari Empire. They were planning a secret deal. New weapons, new plans. They didn't trust each other, but they feared Raylan more. Raylan set his trap. He arrived before the meeting, planted explosives around the old mining base where the talks were to happen. Then he waited, hidden in the shadows. The two enemy ships landed. Their guards moved inside. Raylan watched them argue through a broken camera feed. They didn't know he was already there. He triggered the lights to go out. Gunfire followed. The guards panicked. In the dark, Raylan moved fast. He stunned one leader, injured another, and left them both trapped in the command room. Then he turned, on the base's broadcast system. "This is for Earth," his voice said, echoing through the halls. "This is for the billions you killed. I won't stop. And I'm not alone anymore." He set the charges to destroy the base's entrance, trapping the leaders inside. They would live, but only to tell their people how one human brought them to their knees. Back on his ship, Raylan crossed off 2 more names from his list. 3 left. But now, the enemy alliance was shaking. The Varnak were restless. The Qatari were scared. The Zalari were paranoid. Raylan smiled. The galaxy was waking up. And soon, they would all remember why they feared humanity. The galaxy was changing. Whispers of a human ghost spread through every system. Soldiers spoke of him in hushed voices. Leaders held emergency meetings. Civilian worlds began to ask questions. Did someone survive? Is it true what he says about the war? Captain Raylan was no longer just a shadow. He had become a symbol, and symbols were powerful. Raylan flew to the world of Velmor, a central planet of the Qatari Empire. It was not a military world, but a political one. Here, the High Council ruled. Here, decisions were made. And here, he would send his loudest message. He had studied the city for days. Towers of glass reached high into the sky. Shields protected the main buildings. Cameras watched every street. But no one looked down. No one guarded the underground. Raylan entered through the sewer systems. He moved with purpose, wearing a stolen Qatari uniform and fake ID. He climbed up into the heart of the capital and walked through the crowd like he belonged. In his bag, he carried the last human flag, burned at the edges, torn through the middle, but still whole. Sentinel had saved it long ago. Raylan had kept it for this moment. He reached the Grand Plaza where the 3 Alliance flags waved high. Below them, the city gathered for a ceremony. Peace Day, they called it. A lie told to cover the ashes of Earth. Raylan stepped onto the stage as music played. No one stopped him until he raised the human flag. The music died. Eyes turned. Security shouted. Raylan held the flag high and lit it with a torch. Flames danced. The crowd gasped. The burning flag rose like a signal. "I am the last son of Earth," Raylan shouted. "You killed my people. You called it peace. But it was murder." Guards ran toward him. "You feared what we could become. You should have, because I am still here and I am not alone." Smoke filled the air. Raylan dropped a smoke bomb and vanished into the crowd. Outside the city, his ship waited. He escaped before the capital locked down. The next day, the video of the burning flag went viral. Every news network played it. The Qatari tried to block it, but it was too late. The image had already spread. A human, alive. A flag, burning. A voice, shouting the truth. Riots broke out on smaller Qatari colonies. Soldiers questioned their orders. Young leaders began to ask, did we destroy a race or commit a crime? In a hidden cave on a nearby moon, Raylan watched the chaos. "Sentinels," voice spoke through his headset. "You are not just a soldier anymore, you are a fire." And fires spread. Raylan didn't smile. Not this time. "The next one on my list. He's the worst." His name was General Sorn. He had commanded the main attack on Earth. He had sent the final strike that burned the planet's core. Raylan had watched that blast from orbit, the moment everything was lost. Sorn now lived inside a moving warship, a floating city of death. Hard to find, harder to reach. But Raylan had a plan. He contacted General Koran again, the Varnak warrior who had helped him before. Koran now had support from other Varnak leaders. They were tired of the alliance. Tired of being used, Raylan sent a message. "Sorn must fall." Koran replied, "We'll give you a way in. But once he's gone, we want proof. We want to see the truth." Raylan agreed. Koran gave him codes to enter the warship's system. Raylan flew in through a service tunnel used by Varnak traders. Once inside, he moved like a shadow, through metal halls, past guards, into the command deck. Sorn stood there, proud and cruel, giving orders. Raylan aimed his blaster but didn't. "Shoot, not yet." "I want you to look at me," Raylan said. Sorn turned and his face twisted with fear. "You," he gasped. "You're supposed to be dead?" Raylan stepped closer. "You made sure of that, didn't you?" "I followed orders," Sorn said, backing away. "It wasn't personal." Raylan stared into his eyes. "It was personal to the billions you killed." Then he pulled the trigger. The blaster fired. One shot. Clean. Final. Raylan left Sorn's body on the command deck with a note. "This is for Earth." Back on his ship, Raylan crossed another name. Off the list, 2 left. And now, even inside the Alliance, no one felt safe. The galaxy was no longer silent. Whispers had turned into fire. Riots burned on the Qatari colonies. Protests rose in the Zalari systems. The Varnak Empire had pulled back their warships and demanded a new vote on the Alliance. Everywhere, people asked the same question. Why did we destroy Earth? And everywhere, one name echoed like thunder in the dark. Raylan, the last human. Only 2 names remained on his list. The first was Chancellor Varel, the political brain behind the Alliance. She had pushed for Earth's destruction with cold logic and calm words. "Humanity is dangerous," she once said. "Better to strike first." Now she ruled from a fortified tower on the capital world of Neria, guarded by the best soldiers surrounded by shields. The second was Supreme Warlord Keth, commander of the Zalari fleets. He was not just a leader, he was a symbol of strength. He had never lost a battle. He believed fear kept peace and Earth's destruction was a warning to the galaxy. Raylan knew Keth would never break. He would have to be ended, but before any final strike, Raylan needed the truth to spread. Every secret, every lie. In the cold dark of space, Raylan activated Sentinel. "Play the full recordings," he said. The AI's voice replied, Are you sure? They need to know, Raylan whispered. Everyone. Sentinel began broadcasting. Across the stars, screens lit up. On ships, stations, cities, and planets, people saw everything. The vote to destroy Earth, the recordings of the Alliance leaders speaking of fear and control, the secret files, the messages between empires, and they saw Earth. Burning, screaming, dying. Raylan's voice followed. You feared us because we were strong, but we only wanted peace. You feared our unity, our will to fight, our love for freedom. And so you destroyed us. But now you must face what you did. I am the last of my kind and I remember everything. The truth shook the galaxy. Some leaders tried to block the feed, but it was too late. The message had gone viral. Transmissions were copied, shared, and replayed. People wept. Soldiers put down their weapons. Some cried out for justice. Others begged for forgiveness. Raylan moved quickly now. He flew to Neria, hidden in a stolen enemy ship. Corrin and the Varnak rebels created a distraction on the outer rim, drawing the fleet away. Raylan used the gap to land near Chancellor Varel's tower. The tower was tall, cold, and surrounded by drones. But Raylan had done this many times. He knew where to strike. He slipped through the shadows, climbed the lift shafts, hacked the doors. He entered Varel's office quietly. She was alone, staring at a screen that showed his face, the video of Earth's destruction playing behind him. You finally came, she said. You knew I would, Raylan answered. I voted to destroy your world, she said. And I would do it again. Not because I hate humans, but because I feared them. Raylan stepped closer. You feared what we could become, but you never gave us a chance. She didn't beg. She didn't run. She just sat still as Raylan raised his weapon. I hope you live long enough to feel the shame, he said. He fired a stun shot, non-lethal. She collapsed. Raylan left her tied in her office, the human flag laid across her desk. A symbol, not of defeat, but of judgment. Then, he flew to the last name on his list, Warlord Keth. Keth waited on a battle station above the planet Trion. His fleet was still strong, his guard still loyal. But Raylan had allies now. The Varnak rebels struck first, disabling the outer turrets. Qatari rebels jammed the comms. Zalari defectors opened the gates. Raylan flew straight into the heart of the battle station. He met Keth on the command bridge. The warlord stood tall, his armor shining, a heavy blade in his hand. I've waited for you, human, he said. Raylan nodded. This ends now. They didn't speak again. No more words. Just a fight. Brutal, fast, deadly. Keth was strong. Raylan was faster. The battle felt like fire and thunder. Finally, with a single shot from his blaster, Raylan ended it. Keth fell, and the galaxy changed forever. Raylan stood over the last of Earth's destroyers. Then he activated the final message, sent across every channel. Let this be the last war of fear. Let this be the last time truth is burned for power. Earth is gone, but I remain, so the galaxy will never forget. Then he looked out the window, at the stars. Not in anger now, but in peace. For the first time since the fall of Earth, Captain, Raylan let himself cry, not because he had lost, but because he had finally made them remember.